Picture this. You've been diligently saving into your pension for decades, thinking it's safely tucked away from the taxman when you pass away. Well, I've got news for you. From April 2027, everything is about to change in ways that could cost your family thousands or potentially save them millions. If you have a pension pot worth more than a few £100s, this video could be worth its weight in gold to your financial future. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into the UK Pension Schemes Bill 2025, arguably the most significant pension reform in decades that's flying under the radar while reshaping the entire landscape of retirement planning in Britain. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's unpack what these mega changes really mean for you and your family's wealth. But before we jump in, if you find this content valuable, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more financial insights that could save you thousands. The UK Pension Schemes Bill 2025 represents the most comprehensive overhaul of Britain's pension system in a generation. This isn't just about tweaking the rules around the edges. We're talking about fundamental changes that will affect millions of savers, pensioners, and their families. The reforms center around three massive pillars: the creation of pension megafunds, sweeping inheritance tax changes, and significant reforms to defined benefit schemes. Let's start with the elephant in the room: inheritance tax on pensions. For decades, your pension pot has enjoyed a privileged position when it comes to inheritance tax. If you died before age 75, your pension could be passed on completely tax-free to your beneficiaries. Even if you died after 75, while your beneficiaries might pay income tax on withdrawals, the pension itself sat outside your estate for inheritance tax purposes. This made pensions one of the most tax-efficient ways to pass wealth to the next generation. All of that changes on April 6, 2027. From that date, unused pension funds and death benefits will be brought into the scope of inheritance tax. This means your pension pot will be added to the value of your estate, and if your total estate exceeds the nil rate band of £325,000, your family could face a 40% inheritance tax bill on the excess. For someone with a £500,000 pension pot and other assets worth £200,000, this change could potentially cost their beneficiaries £70,000 in inheritance tax that they wouldn't have paid under the old rules. The mechanics of how this will work are equally important. Initially, the government planned to make pension scheme administrators responsible for calculating and paying the inheritance tax. However, following extensive consultation that concluded in January 2025, they've reversed this decision. Personal representatives, typically the executors of your estate, will now be responsible for reporting and paying any inheritance tax due on pension funds and death benefits. This shift places the administrative burden back on families and their advisors rather than pension providers. There are some important nuances to understand. Assets left to a spouse or civil partner remain inheritance tax-free, so married couples and those in civil partnerships have some protection. The standard inheritance tax thresholds also apply: the nil rate band of £325,000 and the residence nil rate band that can take the threshold up to £500,000 for individuals or £1 million for couples when a family home is involved. However, the government has confirmed these thresholds will remain frozen until 2030, meaning more estates will be pulled into the inheritance tax net through fiscal drag. The second major pillar of these reforms involves the creation of pension megafunds. The government has set an ambitious target to double the number of pension funds with assets over £25 billion by 2030. This consolidation drive is designed to unlock around £80 billion of investment for infrastructure projects and growth businesses. The theory is that larger funds can achieve better economies of scale, reduced costs for savers, and have the muscle to invest in illiquid assets like private equity and infrastructure that can deliver higher long-term returns. The local government pension scheme is at the forefront of this consolidation. Assets from the 86 different LGPS funds across England and Wales are being merged into megapools, with the government setting a deadline of March 2026 for relevant assets to be moved. This is an incredibly tight timeline that's causing significant concern among administrators and advisors about the practical challenges of implementation. For defined contribution schemes, the government is introducing minimum size thresholds that will force smaller schemes to consolidate or risk being wound up. Schemes will need to demonstrate they have sufficient scale to provide value for members, with the exact thresholds still being consulted on. The government is also introducing automatic consolidation of small pension pots worth less than £1,000, which will be combined into a single pot to reduce the problem of lost pensions and improve investment outcomes. The defined benefit pension reforms represent the third major element of these changes. With many DB schemes now sitting on significant surpluses, the government wants to unlock some of this capital to fuel economic growth. Traditionally, these surplus funds have been trapped within the schemes, only available to improve member benefits or reduce employer contributions. The new reforms will create mechanisms for some of this surplus to be extracted and invested more broadly in the economy. The Pension Protection Fund 7800 Index shows that DB schemes currently have a combined surplus of £235 billion. The government sees this as a massive pool of capital that could be deployed to fund infrastructure projects, support growing businesses, and drive economic growth. However, this raises important questions about member security and whether extracting surpluses might leave schemes more vulnerable to future market volatility. These reforms don't exist in isolation. They're part of a broader government strategy to mobilize pension capital for economic growth. The UK has traditionally been criticized for having a pension system that's too focused on government bonds and blue-chip equities, missing out on the higher returns available from private markets and growth investments. Countries like Canada and Australia have shown how large pension funds can successfully invest in infrastructure, private equity, and other alternative assets to deliver superior returns for savers while supporting economic development. The timing of these reforms is crucial. With an aging population and concerns about retirement adequacy, the government is under pressure to ensure pension savings work harder for savers. At the same time, the UK economy needs investment to drive productivity growth and compete globally. The pension reforms are designed to kill two birds with one stone, improving outcomes for savers while channeling capital toward growth investments. However, the reforms also bring risks and challenges. The inheritance tax changes will require significant estate planning for many families, potentially making pension contributions less attractive for higher earners focused on wealth transfer. The megafund consolidation could reduce choice and competition in the market, while the tight implementation timelines raise questions about execution risk. For individual savers, these changes require a fundamental rethink of retirement and estate planning strategies. The inheritance tax changes particularly affect higher earners and those with significant pension pots who may have been relying on pensions as an inheritance tax shelter. Financial advisors are already seeing increased demand for advice on how to restructure affairs ahead of the 2027 changes. The consolidation into megafunds could benefit savers through lower charges and better investment outcomes. But it also means less choice and potentially less innovation in the market. Smaller, specialized pension providers may struggle to survive in this new landscape, leading to further consolidation. From a practical standpoint, anyone with a pension pot needs to review their beneficiary arrangements and consider how these changes might affect their estate planning. Those approaching retirement might want to consider drawing down pensions earlier rather than leaving them to grow for inheritance purposes. Younger savers might find other tax-efficient investment vehicles more attractive if pension tax relief is less valuable when considering the total tax impact across their lifetime and beyond. The government argues these reforms are necessary to create a more efficient, growth-oriented pension system that serves both savers and the broader economy better. Critics worry about the complexity of implementation, the risks to member outcomes, and whether the inheritance tax changes might discourage pension saving. The reality is probably somewhere in between these reforms will create winners and losers, and their ultimate success will depend heavily on implementation quality and market responses. The UK Pension Schemes Bill 2025 represents a watershed moment for British pensions. Whether you're in your 20s just starting to save, approaching retirement, or already drawing your pension, these changes will likely affect you. The inheritance tax reforms alone could cost some families tens of thousands of pounds they weren't expecting to pay, while the megafund consolidation could reshape the entire industry landscape. The key takeaway here is that passive isn't an option anymore. If you've been treating your pension as a set-and-forget investment, it's time to engage actively with these changes. Review your beneficiary arrangements. Understand how your pension provider is adapting to the new rules. And consider whether your overall financial strategy needs adjusting. What's your biggest concern about these pension reforms? Are you worried about the inheritance tax changes? Excited about potential better returns from megafunds? Or concerned about reduced choice in the market? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and often they spark ideas for future videos. If this video has opened your eyes to changes you weren't aware of, smash that like button and subscribe for more personal finance insights that could save or make you thousands. Ring the notification bell so you don't miss updates as more details about these reforms emerge. And hey, if you know someone else who might be affected by these changes, please share this video with them. Remember, knowledge is power when it comes to your financial future, but knowledge plus action is what creates real wealth. Don't let these massive changes catch you off guard. Start planning now for the pension landscape of tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.